Welcome back to the Peace and Progress Podcast, episode 4. Today's conversation, what we're getting into, is we're jumping from the last one that we had before the boys about how I became a personal trainer.
Mm-hmm.
How I got into fitness was the first one, and then now into how I became a personal trainer. So, do you want to lead it off, or you want me to just start from where?
Well,
Or any questions that you have, whether you know the answer or not, that might be good. The other people might not know about. It's not very interesting. I feel like the last conversation was a lot more intriguing.
no, I mean, yeah, it'll be, I feel like, relatively brief because where we left off, you were in sales and you were more so focusing on fitness and like all aspects, not just working out, but eating healthier and making better choices and stuff like that. But we were not engaged yet.
Mm-mm.
Um, so it wasn't like we were training for the wedding or anything like that. This was before that. Um, so I guess from there, how did you then become a personal trainer from being in sales?
Yeah. So we left off the last topic. I was in sales for 3 years. Um, and I liked it. It wasn't anything crazy. It was just, honestly, it was just a paycheck. And I feel like that's what most people do. Is just because it's steady income
Mm-hmm.
and it's like comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I always say this, and it's kind of like a cliche thing to say, but I don't even think they're in business anymore. I won't name it who it is for those that know. Um, but I've always used the references like if what happened to me at that job had never happened, who knows how long I would have stayed there and just stuck it out because it was a comfortable paycheck and it
Right.
was me doing something that like I ultimately, and this is the truth too. I've told you this. When we used to go to your company parties and like I would have to converse with people and be an extrovert because I'm very introverted. Um, Obviously, one of the things that most people ask to get to know you is, what do you do for work? And I was being in the sales position that I was at, I was never proud to say that that's what I did. I was always like dreading that question coming up because
Mm-hmm.
it was never something that I was like, I felt, I don't know. I just feel like people at that time were always like, oh, I'm in business or I do this or work with this company. And it was always kind of like cooler jobs. And I was just like, oh. So I was never proud to say what I did.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I was like ashamed of it, but it was just like, I'm not really doing anything exciting that like
Mm-hmm.
I would be proud to tell people. Um, so I was at that job for 3 years and, um, basically what ended up happening was we this will be a conversation for another time, but we went to Paris
Mm-hmm.
for 2 weeks, and we got engaged, and that was the year before what ultimately ended up happening was me getting fired from that job. I got let go. And that following year, my mom and Mark were going to like Rome, Italy,
Spain.
Spain, and obviously we were invited because we were always invited everywhere. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember telling them, I was like, I don't want to take the time off of work because I just took 2 weeks off last year. And it's like, I don't want to have to keep running back to my boss and asking for time off of work because
Which is crazy now thinking about it too.
why?
Because like it's not like you took multiple vacations throughout a year. It was like one big trip a year. And at that point, I think both of us were like, oh, I don't know if I can take that amount of time off work again. And it's like, why not? Like, you work all year long. So to have one big vacation, like, that shouldn't be an issue to any company.
Right. But I also wasn't really in that headspace at like
Oh, no,
24,
neither of
25.
us were.
Well, no. So it was just like, yeah. So and we'll get into like this is what I usually tell people because I use this story a lot with, talking about obviously being a personal trainer is like I've said, there's always one side is the personal side and then the other side is like the training side. So it's more like therapy session within training. And so we talk about that a lot with work. And so, yeah, I basically just was like, you know what? I'm not going to go on this trip because I don't want to take that time off of work again. I don't want to have to request a time off and like have my boss thinking like, oh, this guy's going to be on vacation all of the time. And I think I was
Mhm.
just more committed to a job that truthfully wasn't as committed to me.
Right.
Obviously, it was just like I was a number.
Right.
And most large corporations are like that. When you work, you just, another person.
Mhm.
They could easily replace you if they needed to. If things, if you quit or whatever, you got fired or the company needed to start laying people off to save money, like they'll usually figure it out. And
Right.
um so I don't remember the exact time frame. I always say it was like roughly a month.
Mhm.
I feel like it was relatively close.
Yeah.
After I had denied going on that vacation, I got laid off. They were calling people in to lay off, you know, like I just said, to cut budget and save money and, or I guess not cut budget, to cut costs and save money. And
Yeah,
I
to
was one of the
budget.
well, yeah, and I was one of those people that they were just like, you know what? Not necessarily an essential person. So got laid off. And I didn't anticipate that.
Mhm.
I obviously like went into my job every day. It was like, this is comfortable. This is a steady paycheck. It's an income. Like I do my job and I do a decent job at it. Like I get my work done. And it would just prove to me that um, you are replaceable. And so going back into that conversation with like not taking the time off of work, I always tell people like a job is a job. At the end of the day, like if you're
Mhm.
that easily replaceable because you decide that you want to live your life, like it's not worth it, you know?
No,
And
there's
I
always going to be another job.
right. Or yeah, or like again, God forbid, like maybe you didn't take the job because you or take the vacation because you couldn't afford it or whatever. And then a week later the same thing happens. Is like they turn around and like, oh, we really can't afford everybody that we've had on payroll, so we're gonna have to start cutting people, and you're gonna be one of the people to go. And it's just like to be committed that deeply to a job that could easily replace you and not really
Mhm.
care,
Mhm.
like so it was just eye opening. And at the time, obviously, it's very uh damaging to the ego for sure
Yeah.
because it's just like, but looking back now at 35, I think that was obviously one of the best things that could have happened because it led me into what our conversation is today about being a personal trainer.
Mhm.
um which also ironically like led me here to be doing a podcast. So I wouldn't be doing all of this if all of those things didn't happen and align or line up the
Mhm.
way that they did. So obviously, yeah, in the moment it sucked. I think we were what 20. We hadn't even gotten married yet.
No, so we must have been 25
Yeah,
because we got
something like
married
that.
at 26. You
Because
were
I
26.
remember my boss too, which again, not that it matters, but um, was very hard on like doing this for the business and you gotta be this perfect salesperson and like make all these sales and do your numbers and this and that and hit it. And it was like I remember a lot of the conversations that I get pulled into the office would be like it was almost, I don't know if gaslighting is the right word, but it was just like the conversation would be like, you're getting married in a year and weddings aren't cheap and you're going to have a big commitment now being a husband and having a wife and like you really got to. And it was just like,
Not like gaslighting, but that's almost like I don't know what the word is, but yeah, I know what you mean.
anyway. So yeah, so I got fired. I got let go and I had no idea that that was even going to happen. And I remember coming home and I remember thinking like I have nothing to fall back on. Like I
Mhm.
literally had no plan B. I
Mhm.
had no other.
And you probably felt like blindsided.
Well, for sure. I was literally, it was in the middle of the day too. He's
Mhm.
like, I remember the GM was like, you're going to go take your lunch and don't take anything with
Just
you.
not come back.
No, they literally said, this is what they told me. They go, you're going to go take your lunch because it was noon. It was like the middle of the afternoon when people were taking lunch anyway because they didn't want it to be
A big thing.
suspicious. Yeah.
Just also sketchy.
Nah,
They're protecting themselves.
right. But also looking back now, it's like, I don't, I see it that way then. I don't really see it that way now. It's not a big deal. But anyway, so they were like, go take your lunch and then you can come back at the end of the day when everybody's gone to come get your stuff and clean your desk out. Because if you start cleaning your desk out now, the people that don't know are going to start questioning, like, why are you taking all of your stuff with you? So anyway, I remember coming home and I was like, I have no alternate plan.
Mm-hmm.
I have nothing else that I had even thought to pursue. And again, oddly enough, that kind of leads me into like this whole, like being a personal trainer and doing the podcast and like having, not necessarily having like multiple streams of income, at least at this point with the podcast specifically, but I never wanted to be in a position like that again.
Right.
And then obviously now, being, what's the word? Not codependent, but like being in a marriage now. And like, obviously we have kids and it's like, I have an obligation and a responsibility to provide for the family on both ends. It's not just always, the man's job, but I just never wanted to be put in a position again where like I could be blindsided like that and have no plan B to fall back on. So I like to get into things that like I have a passion for, and personal training was one of those things. And that's kind of why people always ask me like, why do you do so many things? Like, why do you involve yourself in so many things? Because again, a conversation for another time is the anxiety, which can be overwhelming at times. But that's the main reason, is because I don't want to be put in a position like that again, where something doesn't pan out or it goes away differently than I had anticipated. And I don't have a plan B to fall back on. I always want to have like something else to fall back on. And if, it just so happens to align the way that it does and everything works out, then that's even better, like then everything pans out and I'm doing all the things that I like to do and make a living out of that, or a career out of it. So yeah, I came home, it was the middle of the day and I was just like, I literally have nothing to fall back on. And, the only thing that I was doing at that time, which we talked about at the very end of the last podcast, was, I just started kind of going to the gym a little bit more religiously after stopping drinking so much and having my 6-pack meals or my 6-pack bag with me. And that was literally like the only other thing that I did at that time outside of working the sales job. And so I was just like, I'm just going to go all in on this and just see what happens. And even at that time, so 2015, 16, right? This was about 10 years ago. It wasn't like the fitness industry wasn't like it is now. Like social media was barely even that big at that time in 2015, 16. Like people weren't fitness influencers on social media or like had online.
They were starting to.
But it wasn't as big as it is now. Like I feel like everybody in the fitness space now is like they have their own business or their online coaching or.
Well, yes, because what you're referring to is like they were just starting to take off. So they didn't have anything other than their brand on social media. So you were getting exposure to all these different people. And now 10 years forward, certain people have been very smart and expanded their brands into actual brands like clothing companies or, energy drinks or stuff like that. So you're right. They're less prominent on social media in the way that they were initially.
Fitness wise?
Yes.
Yeah.
Like I'm sure we're probably thinking about a lot of the same people where they would either do like full on tutorials or like workouts, film the whole thing.
Well, yeah, it was always like
and post them.
Yeah, it was always posting your workouts
or like vlog style.
Which if you go back on my Instagram far enough to that era, 2015, 16, 17, like that's all still there. Like I used to do the same thing. I literally, and that's, again, it's like nothing changes. You don't reinvent the wheel, but like that's literally all that people would do back then as far as like the fitness space, I could say, because I didn't really pay attention to anything else on like social media at the time. But you would literally just like follow people that were like doing the things you wanted to do, and you would redo that or emulate that in your own way. And so I used to post, and again, it's all still there. Like I have so many workout videos or like random, like you said, vlog style videos of like fitness, like what I supplements that I take and this and that. And obviously social media as the industry has changed so much in the last 10 years. It's not really like that anymore. Now it's like short form content and reels. It's not like posting your entire workout anymore. Um, but yeah, so I just dove into that and I was like, I don't know. I mean, I know how at that point I'm starting to understand how to work out properly and like what it
Well, also, you did dive all in and you started taking courses through NASM.
right. That's what I was gonna say. So at that point, I was already starting to experiment like on myself
Mm-hmm.
how to look a certain way. Cause like we talked about in the last podcast, like I always wanted to gain muscle and like fill out more. So I started researching like how do I start looking like this? And then obviously a lot of it that we now know is diet, but it was like, okay, cool. So now I got to figure out how I need to diet and what I need to eat in order to look the way that I want to look. And I started implementing that in my daily routine and it started working.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, okay, cool. Now I'm starting to learn all of these things by doing it on myself. And again, at that time, I don't think people care as much now to know that you're like certified as long as you really know what you're doing and you're smart with it. But like obviously back then, 10 years ago, it was like in order to get a job at a
Mm-hmm.
gym,
Mm-hmm.
I needed to show that I had qualifications and certifications for what I was applying for.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went through NASM, yeah, and it was like I don't remember how long it was, like a 3-month course or something like that to be a personal trainer. And you go through this extensive training, you get a book and you read it and you do all these quizzes. And then at the very end, you take a test that I had to go to Burbank for to take. It was like an online test. It took an hour and a half or something like that. So I got my certification in that. And then I just, I started back again, we were going to 24-hour fitness on Tapo and all of the people that like we had just met there from, the same people we would always see at, 5 in the morning. It was just like, would help them with their training.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I see what you're doing. What about this? They would ask questions and stuff. And so I just started kind of training people there under the radar, like charging, I don't even remember, like $20 a session or something like that or like pay me, well, I don't even know if Venmo was a thing, but like whatever, pay me and I'll help you type thing. And that's kind of how it started. And then obviously once I got my certification, I started working at gyms and apply at certain gyms and wow, that was very violent. Anyway, so we don't have to deep dive into that unless you want to, but like I worked at a lot of smaller, like family owned gyms and I worked at big box corporation gyms and I've seen both sides of that industry. And for those that don't know, obviously most people know, I think at this point that I'm independent, which basically means that like I just run the business myself.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, I think that that's the way to go for most industries. If you have the financial means and like you're knowledgeable enough to know how to do it. And I also think it's a lot easier these days to be more independent in your business and like start a business yourself because of social media and like you have the power to utilize that to your advantage and grow your own business and your own brand. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've just seen both sides of the industry and I'd always said when I went independent, and again, the people that train with me can attest to this, but like, I don't do things the traditional way that most people do it, like the corporate gyms or like the actual gyms where you would, just because I've seen how they usually treat their clients and their members. And I'm just like, if I ever am fortunate enough to make it to a point where I am independent and get to do things my way, like I'm going to do it the way that takes care of the client first and makes the most sense and like focuses on them, because it was never about that. Like I've worked at a lot of gyms that are just like, you need to go. It was like being back in sales. You need to go walk the floor and sign as many people as you can. Like that's your goal. Like, don't even worry about talking to them and like starting a conversation. Like go see how many leads you can get. Or it was just like,
point out things that they're doing wrong in their workout.
Yes.
I remember that was one of your sales
That was,
pitches.
yeah, it was like,
when would that ever work?
it was like almost like a reverse psychology kind of way. Like it was almost like give a compliment and then take it back with a negative. You know what I mean? It was kind of like, go tell them, oh, I see you in here doing, your workouts all the time. You're crushing it. But I also noticed that when you're doing this exercise specifically, like you could really injure yourself type thing. Like, and I want you to be safe, so come train with me type. And it was just like, I don't know. There's a lot of
And
shady
then
stuff.
not only that, but then like you would see obviously both sides of it, being in the sales side of like how much they're selling their personal training for and then how much they're paying you for,
Oh,
which
for sure.
obviously there's going to be like margins, but it was insane the difference
Mhm.
between like how much they were making off of you versus how much you were making yourself.
Yeah. And I say this too, and I've told my clients this too. So I'm not like, I don't shy away from it, but it's again, it was a very backwards method. Like they would really like, and again, you can essentially charge if you're good at what you do, regardless of if you're a trainer, whatever you do. If you own your own business and you're really good at what you do, like you can charge whatever you want and people will pay it because you're knowledgeable
Mm-hmm.
and you know what you're doing and you're getting the result that people desire. And
Mm-hmm.
that's why they pay it. But when you're charging people an outrageous amount for really no reason, and then you
Mm-hmm.
hire all of these very like basic trainers that are kind of like they're not doing really anything next level. And I don't mean next level like giving them extraordinary exercises that are going to like, you know, speed up the fat loss process, but I just mean like they're not really like I've seen trainers that aren't very and coaches that aren't very invested in their clients. They're just like, all right, you know, do your set, do your reps.
Right.
Okay, let's
Or
go over
give the
here.
same workout, like it's not personalized and
Yeah, or just like even personalized on like a communicative level. You know what I
yeah.
mean? They're just like you could just tell that they didn't really like give a shit to be there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so it's just like, and these people are paying a ridiculous amount for this service, and so that was one of the things. Is like, no, I'm not going to undercut myself because I know at the end of the day, like it's still a business for me, and I have to make money in order to support my family. But that was never like my number one priority. Was like, how much money can I make off of these
Right.
people? It was always like, how can I charge these people
A
an amount?
fair amount.
Yeah, they can afford, but still make it worth my while. You know what I
Right,
mean?
exactly.
And so that was always the biggest thing. That was the biggest model for like me going independent. And like, again, being independent, you have that freedom to do that. I mean, you also have the freedom to charge $200 an hour if you really want to. And if you're good enough to do that, people will pay for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that, again, that wasn't my goal. Like, my goal wasn't to make as much money as possible. It was
Right.
to make a living to support myself and my family, but to also be able to make people, because I think that that was one of the biggest deterrents for a lot of people was starting personal training. And for me, it was always about helping the people reach their goals. And I know that I don't want to say the majority, but there's a very large population of people that get into personal training or working out because they have weight to lose,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's never the flip side that's the majority. Like people don't go in to gain weight.
Mm-hmm.
It's always to lose weight. And that's a very vulnerable place to be and a very vulnerable conversation to have with somebody to say, I really need to lose weight and I need your help.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that working at other gyms like that, the money was more of the determining factor than actually getting healthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was always my mission. And it still is. This is like, I want your top priority to be getting healthy. Like the money should be a secondary option. Like you shouldn't even be thinking about that,
Right.
you know? But again, ultimately, yes, I know at the end of the day, like your health does come at a price and it costs a lot more to be unhealthy. And you can be in, you know, hospitals taking medications and this and that. And so there is a price on your health, but your health should always come first. It should never be like, yes, I want to lose weight. How much do you charge? Oh, that's too much. I'm not going to do it.
Right.
So that was always like my method going in. It's just like, I don't understand why they're pitching it this way. Like if they're truly like genuinely care about getting people healthier, like that should be their first priority. Is like, how can I get these people healthy? Like, let's worry about the money after that,
Mm-hmm.
not the opposite.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much money? Because again, like you think about this too, and most people if it hasn't already, it will click when I say this. It's like, you think about how many people have a gym membership and think about, like we've talked about before, especially for females, how intimidating the strength or the free weight section is.
Mm-hmm.
So what do most people go towards? What do they gravitate
The
towards?
cardio.
And when you go to a gym, what is the most accessible piece of equipment? What do they have the most of?
The treadmills.
Treadmills, ellipticals, Stairmasters. It's all
Yeah.
cardio equipment,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they want people to go in there and do cardio. So now you're paying however much a month for whatever gym membership you have to go and do cardio because the weight section is way too intimidating. And then half the time it's just like you don't even really want to be there anyway. So then you end up not going. And most people then never cancel their gym membership. So these gyms are making money nonstop.
Mm-hmm.
And they're banking on people that do that. They're banking on people that pay for a membership and just never show.
Right.
Because it's money to them. It's free money. Most people, truthfully, are too lazy to go and cancel their membership. They're like, oh, I don't use it, but like, oh, it's really not enough for me to cancel it. Like maybe I'll go back at some point, and then they never do.
Well, isn't that like Planet Fitness's whole model is how cheap their monthly is, and in hopes that like people never cancel.
I don't know about that. I know that their whole shtick was like the free the free pizza Fridays or something like that, which I've heard they don't do anymore. But no, I don't think so. I mean, Crunch has an entry level price is like $10 a month. But again, you think about like that base model price is like if you go to a gym that's $10 a month, like everybody can afford that. So it's going to be wall to wall people. You're never going to get on anything.
True.
And then on the flip side, you go to a place like Equinox, it's what, $150, $200 a month. It's like nobody can, well, not nobody, but a very small population of people can afford $200 a month for a gym membership. But if you've ever been into an Equinox, like it's never crowded because most people can't afford that. It's a luxury gym.
Right.
Almost everybody can afford $10 a month for a gym membership, but it's the give and the take. Like you're never going to get on anything. So again, like you're left paying for a gym membership that you're not going to go to because it's always crowded. Like, yeah, it's cheap, but it's always crowded.
Why we would go early in the morning too.
Yeah, it was never, I mean, even then though, I was paying $25 a month, which wasn't outrageous at that time.
No.
For a gym membership. But yeah, I mean, obviously once I built our gym, I was like, there's no reason for me, especially now having kids. It's like, it's way more convenient to just be here and train. And for people that have seen the gym, is like, I think it's pretty clear that I've modeled it after the 24-hour fitness that we went to. I was like, I'm going to buy all of the pieces of equipment that I use there that I can fit in my garage. And that's going to be my gym. And so, but yeah, I mean, it's way more convenient for sure to have your own gym if you go that route. Anyway, so that's pretty much the short version of how I became a personal trainer. I just started doing it. I was just like, I'm just going to go all in and see what happens. I have nothing else to lose. I already got fired from my job. So it's not like, I'm already at rock bottom, so to speak. So
yeah. And we had no kids. And at that point it
right.
was.
And we weren't married yet.
Yeah.
And so I was just like,
if you want to do something, then do it.
Yeah. And that's why I say looking back now, it to me was like the greatest blessing that I could have had, because obviously, like I just said, I've been 10 years in. Now I'm still doing personal training every single day in person. I got online clientele. Social media now is just like another avenue. But doing that and then going independent has really allowed me to essentially do whatever I want in life at this point. And it's like it gave me that freedom. Yeah. Whereas before, is like like I said, I was tied to a company and a business and a boss. It's like constantly asking, can I have the day off to go, or whatever, the time off to go on vacation? And it's like now we just go if we want to. And I'm fortunate that I have very understanding clientele that are supportive and do understand. It's like if I want to take a week off to go on vacation, they're like, yeah, go. I don't have to worry about, like I said, asking for the permission to take time off. So, but yeah, that's how I became a personal trainer. Not very exciting. It's literally just the definition of like, just take the leap and do it.
Yeah.
Like if you're already invested in something and like you feel, I don't know if passionate is the right word, but if you feel like invested in it already, just see where it goes. Because like I said, I had nothing to lose. So if it didn't work out, okay, on to the next.
Right, exactly.
What else do I have, that I'm somewhat decent at? So I think that was That's the message. Just
Mhm.
take the leap.
Yep.
And just do it. So
Okay. Good talk.
that's it. You're done with me.
I'm so tired. Every time we do these, I just like
That's because you wait until it's
drained.
like 4 hours later.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. We'll end that there. That's it. No more questions for that,
No.
or things that I skipped over. Nothing.
Nope.
All right. We'll leave some comments below, I guess. I don't know. Shout out to this. Now I posted today. We got 7 subscribers. A whole 7. Shout out. Still
There you
don't know
go.
how to work the YouTube, so if I don't know who you are, I'm sorry, but 7 people. So I guess drop some comments either in this video or on Instagram for new topics or conversations or questions about anything that I may have missed or anything that I touched on that was like, ooh, talk about that. I want to know more about that. Or vice versa, I guess, for you. We haven't really done a podcast for you. We want to know about you next time.
Sure.
All right. Until then,
Thanks for watching.
peace.